Gathering voices, building worlds. The Ampliverse.
Welcome to Harry Potter and the Anxious Millennials, a show where we delve week by week into each chapter of the Harry Potter series. Welcome back to everyone. We are here, we are back, and we're queer. Ari, this week we read chapter 5 called The Order of the Phoenix. Funny.
We did.
That's the title of the book.
Yeah, you want to know, Adam, Michael asked me, what chapter are you reading today? And I said, The Order of the Phoenix. And he said, the whole book? It's going to take you a while to get through the whole book. And I was like, I'm not even going to laugh at that, is what I said.
I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
I'm just going to ignore you.
Ari, what happens in chapter 5?
Harry is reunited with Sirius, and Sirius and Molly duke it out over how much information Harry should be privy to.
I would probably just say Harry finds out about the Order of the Phoenix, but that's if we're going for bare bones.
Harry finds out about Order of the Phoenix is revealed. So Sirius, the chapter opens with Sirius explaining that Harry just met his mother. Harry's like, huh? Like a Scooby-Doo, like, what? Yeah. Sirius is like, oh yeah, no, that's my darling old mom, love her. And then he's like, she must have put some type of like permanent sticking charm on her portrait. And I was like, this is what it's come to? A permanent sticking charm. There's no cure. Just nothing you can do. In all the magical resources we have, a portrait is just stuck to this wall for eternity.
Here's what I'm going to say. Because it doesn't make sense that she would be like, at some point, someone's going to want to remove this. Do you know what I mean?
She knew Sirius was going to inherit the house.
That's what I'm saying.
She was just like,
so I think she passes and Creature puts a house elf charm on it, and that's why they can't get it off.
Okay, I would believe that because I believe that house elf magic is that powerful. So, okay. Good one, Adam. Wow, I really like that. Okay.
A person we have not met yet, by the way, Creature.
Yeah. No, he does. I thought we were going to meet him in the chapter. I was wrong.
I think it's next week.
Okay. Well, Creature Canon. That's who we haven't met yet.
KC, Creature Canon.
Sirius also mentions that he inherited this house because he's the last Black left. And Harry is noticing as Sirius is talking about this, he's a little bitter Betty. I mean, he's not doing so hot, to which Harry's kind of like, oh, I love that it was like Harry expected a warmer welcome. I don't know why that like cracked me up. Like, Harry, my boy. Like, he was just expecting Sirius to like roll out the red carpet for him and like the welcome mat and have like a little cake prepared for him. Hagrid spoiled him. He did.
That
one birthday.
He showed up with a cake that first time.
Yeah. So that was funny to me. But yeah, he's noticing that Sirius is a bitter Betty. They go into the kitchen and Bill, Arthur, and Molly are in there, or like the dining room, because it's an old house. So I guess it's technically the dining area. And then also Mundungus is there, who Sirius calls dung. And I was like,
flop.
I'm sorry. I know Mundungus he's not like the brightest bulb in the box, but like, I don't think any human being would be like, oh yeah, you can call me dung. So that bumped me a little bit. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know. Why wouldn't you call him like Gus, Mundungus? So Molly is clearly not a fan of Mundungus, like right off the bat.
Correct.
And honestly,
and I'm on Molly's side. I would say I'm on Molly's side through most of this chapter.
Oh, okay, great. There's one point where I'm not really, but I wanted to talk about it because I empathize.
I think I know
with her
exactly what you're
chapter.
talking about. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So she's not a fan of Mundungus, and yeah, I'm with you, Adam. I also I would not want this person around my children. I also would not want him to be like putting these types of ideas in their head. Like, it is very weird to me that Molly is the only one who's like, okay, why is he here so much? Like, I understand we're working with him, but like, let's set some boundaries. Molly's the only one that knows boundaries. Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? This is a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Depending on the
Okay.
answer. Mundungus betrays them, right?
Oh yeah, girl. Not like maliciously, but he like
not in the way that
makes
like Creature betrays them.
No, but he like flakes out basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
So Molly is like, I need some help if you guys want to eat soon. Adam, did this give you the ick that Tonks is like excited to help and then the only other person mentioned helping her is Ginny? Other than Hermione, these are the two women in the house.
But are you, I mean, like, look at Joe. Are we surprised?
I had like a whole like inner monologue when that happened. I was like, because it was a similar thing where I was like, but obviously, because like we shouldn't even be surprised at this point. But then I also was like, but you are a woman, Joe. Like I was like, oh my God. I was like.
Based on the characters that you have written.
Yeah.
Lupin would be the one to help you. You have written these characters. We know these characters. Lupin, if called upon, would be like, oh yeah, I'm happy to help. Wash his hands, chop a little salad.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. Yes, let's remind everyone that she can like whip something up real quick. Fred and George do help, but like
Fred and George
later.
do help. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. But also they're her children.
Yeah. And also like you should be helping. It's just weird that it was like Tonks is so enthusiastic about it. And then like Ginny is just the only other person mentioned. I was like, Arthur can't just grab a couple of plates. Arthur can't summon the silverware out.
Can I say something? We are 3 chapters into Tonks's character. And I am already tired of the like, she's a klutz.
She's a klutz.
Why does it feel like every childhood movie in the 90s had like a klutz character? Like I just feel like this character is so tread, so often used and employed that I'm like already over it.
Adam, do you know what it also kind of is? It's the whole like she's not like other girls.
Oh, she's a manic pixie dream girl for sure.
Yeah. You're not like the other girls, Tonks. Yeah, I didn't like that Ginny and Tonks are the only one helping, but what sure, with what we know about Joe, am I surprised by this? No, but I'm still mad.
Do better.
You know, I never lose my fire, okay? My anger never stops.
Diminishes. Yeah.
See, yeah, my anger never diminishes. So this part, the part where Sirius compares Harry's situation to his own. How do we feel about this? Can we just like take a couple minutes to talk about this?
I think it's insane for an adult to do this to a child. Like this
Thank
is like
you.
You're out of your mind. That being said,
okay.
Somebody needed to do this to Harry Potter.
You're like, it's crazy that an adult did this, but I'm glad that someone did.
I'm glad someone did. Because that's all we did last chapter. Dragged his ass to hell.
So I feel like in this situation, I was a little like bothered by this just because I was like, your situation, Sirius, is very different. Yes, you were, wrongfully imprisoned, and I have a lot of empathy for you in that was the last 12 years of your life. Like, yeah, that's a lot to work through. Once again, why are there not therapists in the wizarding world? Like, come on. So with this situation, though, I'm just like, I don't know. It feels like he's kind of just saying like, well, it could have been worse. And I just hate when an adult meets a child with a response like that. Like, oh, wow, really? Well, I would have thought you would have been enjoying yourself because what I'm doing here is so much worse than what you have gone through. And I'm just like,
Yeah, you're so ungrateful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like he's trying to be like, I'm having a hard time. Like, it's like, try to like look into the subtext a little bit there because you are an adult and he is a child. Like, you have like a type of perception in this situation that unfortunately, because he's 15, he hasn't gained yet.
Correct. Here's what I'm going to say. It had to be written this way, and like why it's good is because we have to set up that the idea that the way Sirius interacts with Harry is the way Sirius probably interacted with James, because this is
Right,
a
when
this
we
is
do
a
talk
way you have
about
a
that,
conversation with a close friend.
Right.
Because if you
Not
can,
your-
obviously,
yeah.
like, there's at some level, I would be like, I'm so sorry to hear that you're not doing well. But on the other hand, as like a joke, if you're two people who like to
as a
joke
joke.
around,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's been really hard being able to leave the house.
Go for
But
walks.
that's not what
What's that like?
That's not what you say to your 15-year-old ward.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Who like has been going through it, obviously. Like,
And you know who's probably listening to this conversation? Miss Molly Weasley.
oh, she is. She is. So yeah. So, and she mentions that in a couple minutes. We'll get to that. So yeah, that was a little strange to me in terms of like, I was like, Sirius, do better.
Also, in Sirius's defense, he has not interacted with teenagers since probably being a literal teenager. So
Yeah, wait, how old was he when he went to Azkaban? Was he 18? How old were they again?
So
21?
if they graduate when they're 17,
Yeah.
and Harry was 1, and they probably were out of Hogwarts for at least a year or maybe 2, he was probably like 20.
Yeah.
And then he was in Azkaban for 12 years. So
Just
now he's
remembering
30,
being
33, 34.
Yeah. Oh, remember when we were 20, Adam? Sheesh. What a time.
I had it all figured out. I could have had a child. I had it all figured out. I knew myself.
Only Adam. Just Adam, everyone. So, while Sirius is talking about this, though, I will say it does good in the sense of Harry is kind of comforted by the fact that Sirius doesn't sound to be very happy with Dumbledore either. And this cheers Harry up a little bit. Like, yeah, we both hate the same person. So, you know,
We
like
have a
that
common
type
enemy.
of bonding moment. Yeah, we have a common enemy.
And it's not Voldemort, to be clear.
No, it's not Voldemort. So the thing that Sirius is very bitter about in particular is the fact that apparently Snape is coming to these meetings and recanting all of the very like daring stuff he's been doing, whatever mission he's out on. He loves to come to these meetings and just gloat about it and kind of rub it in Sirius's face that he's getting to do all the cool stuff. Because, you know, Sirius being a Gryffindor, he wants to be out where the action is. So Snape's like, yeah, I'm going to rub it in your face that you're just sitting inside and I'm doing all the cool stuff.
If it was any other character, I would be like, and this is probably all in Sirius's head, and obviously the person who's telling these stories does not mean it to come off this way.
Yeah.
With Severus Snape.
Yeah.
You know.
He is 100%. Yeah. Saying all those giving all those little digs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Making a comment at the end of every sentence, every paragraph.
And doing the thing of being like, it's such hard work. But honestly, I just feel like if I wasn't doing anything, you know, what would be the point of me even being here? What would be the point if I was just lollygagging around and not participating or helping the fight in any kind of real attainable way? You know what I mean? I just feel like that sometimes. And then like look at Sirius.
Yeah. I'm just so happy that I can actually help, you know, in a real tangible way.
Right.
I would hate myself if all I could do is like, you know, busy work.
God, I couldn't imagine. Oh.
Wow. Yeah,
I mean, I'm impressed that Sirius is able to keep it together at these meetings, to be honest.
Yeah, especially just because this is like the person he hates the most. Like, it's just how like a person like that can just so easily get under your skin that it's like you know you shouldn't take the bait, but it's so hard not to because you're just like, you're a fucking idiot.
At this point in the story, Harry and Sirius have 3 common enemies: Voldemort, Severus Snape, and Albus Dumbledore.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Yeah. So they're united on all 3 fronts. It's great. And then at this point, the twins summon in the stew, which ends up knocking over Mundungus, to which gives Harry and Sirius a nice reprieve from their bitching and moaning so they can have a little bit of a laugh. So at this point, Molly starts like bitching about the twins and starts mentioning her other son's names and unfortunately mentions Percy before she can stop herself. And I loved the description that Arthur just like suddenly went wooden. I had never heard that description before.
Yeah.
But that just idea of someone just being like, yeah. It's like essentially pretending they like went deaf for a second, you know? I was like, great. So Molly and Sirius continue to talk about essentially what needs to be cleared out. Sirius is like, yeah, sounds great. Like just with a slight sarcasm that only Harry can really detect. And while this is happening, Tonks is just transforming her face. It's dinner and a show tonight. So she's the entertainment, I guess, for the night.
Did you note the like do the pig snout, and then it was like she looked like Dudley, and I was like,
no, I missed that. Oh my god, no, I missed that. Of course, she just can't help it.
She cannot help herself.
Yeah. So while this is happening, Arthur and Lupin are talking about goblins potentially joining you know who. And they're kind of going back and forth. They're Arthur and Lupin. Oh, I see.
Who? You know who? Who?
Voldy. Good old Voldy. Harry and Sirius is number 1. Well, not right now. Actually, Voldemort is number 3 on the list at the moment.
Right. He's so
not
far
1
down
or
the
2.
list.
It's Dumbledore, Snape, Voldemort.
Yeah.
So they're talking about the goblins. So this is just like, I do think this is a good job of her kind of just like planting, you know, there's like talk about do we get talk about the giants? Yeah, later we get kind of a comment about the giants. They're kind of talking about the goblins. They're talking about the giants. So just things that, you know, they're keeping in mind of like different, would you call them race, giants and goblins?
Because they're beings. They're not beasts.
Yeah, they're beings. So at this point, Molly's kind of like given Mundungus the like once over because she's not very happy with him being there. And then at this point, Sirius kind of explains the whole Mundungus situation to Harry. So Mundungus is confirmed a crook, guys. He is confirmed a crook. And he knows all the other crooks, which is why they're like, it's useful to have him around. And I'm like, okay, I agree with that, but I don't know if he should be just like bopping around with like when the children are around and just like hanging out. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a very good influence. He is supposedly very loyal to Dumbledore.
Right.
Which, Adam, I think that would be an important thing to address with your spoiler comment that you made earlier whenever we get to that. So that's an important thing to remember.
Because at some point, Miss Girl is not girlin' anymore.
Yeah.
And by
so
Miss
who
Girl,
does he
I mean
really
Dumbledore.
have? Yeah. Who is his loyalty to if at that point, just
it's
himself?
I would not say it's the order as a community. No.
And
Very
I would
clearly,
assume
he left Harry.
Yeah. And I would assume that it's more of he is interested in like Dumbledore's protection or just like a line, like a Pettigrew situation. Sorry, I don't think he is Pettigrew, but like it's that type of thing that he's like, well, I want to align myself with like powerful people to like look out for me.
It's just he wants to save his own skin. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just all about himself.
It's self-servicing. Can I also say if this group of adults was any more intelligent, because they're clearly not, how are we not asking questions about how the one time that Mundungus Fletcher stops tailing Harry is when Dementors show up? We're not thinking that's a weird specific no one has said like, so we know that you're like, you know,
Yeah, no one's really like held him accountable for this situation.
It is a coincidence, right? It's not. There is no like real reason as to why the Dementors show up when they do. Correct? We don't ever find this out.
We do find it out.
There was it like they knew Mundungus was tailing Harry, so they got him out of there purposefully? They used like a ruse for him to stop following.
I can't remember for sure, but I feel like maybe. Either way, I think they did send them on him because they knew no one was there watching him. They knew he was like alone at that point.
So that's what I'm saying. So who's feeding them the information?
Because it's the ministry, I think they just know like who's in that area or whatever, because they can track. We still don't know how, but somehow they can track whatever is happening in Harry's area.
Yeah.
We don't know how.
Everyone's got an RFID. They're wearing a little magic band, and it's tracking them around the park.
Microchips in dogs, that's what they do, but to wizards.
My COVID vaccine was a microchip.
Yeah. I did clock this part. Harry mentions that his pants are fitting very tightly, which was saying a lot because they once belonged to Dudley. She just can't, like, it's just, there was no reason to say that. There was no reason to say that. There was no reason.
She's an insane person.
Yeah, it's like, it's gross. Like, Sirius is, after they finish eating, Sirius says to Harry, well, I'm surprised that you haven't just been asking questions. Like, I'm shocked. And he was like, I did. I asked Ron and Hermione. I was asking them all the questions. And then Harry's like, okay, well, this part, Sirius like, well, I want to tell you. You know, it's not me who's saying we shouldn't tell you. I want to tell you this technique. And so he's like, well, I would like to tell you. And then this is where we start to get into it, where it's like the Sirius versus Molly thing, because Molly's kids are objecting. Like, they're like, well, if Harry's going to know, then we need to know because you guys haven't told us anything, but we want to know what's going on. And then Molly's going at it and trying to explain why she doesn't think Harry should know. And I think this is the main part. This is the part where I disagree with Molly, because I do think it's better for the kids to be, at least have some, essentially what Lupin says. I'm on Lupin's side.
Sure.
I think it's better for them to know and have the information like straight from the source, but also the layer that Sirius is Harry's godfather. And even though there are some things that Sirius has done that I don't agree with, like the comparing his situation to Harry's, blah, blah, stuff like that. I don't agree with that. But at the end of the day, Lily and James wanted Sirius to be the godfather. So they wanted it to be him. And so I feel like there's a reason. As a parent, I would be very intentional with like who I would choose to like potentially take over responsibility for my children, just because it would be like, sure, well, how would they handle this type of situation? Like, they've obviously thought about that. They definitely thought about it with the situation with like Voldemort, that it wasn't like they were like, oh yeah, we'll just like invite you to the baptism and we'll call you the godfather. Like, it was very much you will be his godfather if anything happens to us. So that's where I'm at. That's where I stand.
Okay, so here's what, God, I hate paying this woman a compliment. I think this fight is written very well because you really see where both people are coming from. And I would say you can align yourself with either point of view because they are not, neither of them are incorrect in what they believe. Because to some extent, I do think that like Molly's point is like, they are children. We can have a conversation that they're 15 or whatever, but they are 15. He is a 15-year-old, and we are discussing someone coming back in a world in which we don't have therapists. We are discussing the biggest villain of the universe coming back to wish him dead, right? Like, that is a lot to put upon a young person who's still developing. their frontal lobe cortex. On Sirius's point of view, he's like, he's already been through all this. He's already seen someone literally die in front of him. There is no reason to hide any of this anymore because he already knows the basics of what's going on. We just need to fill in the gaps. I think you're right in that, like, that's why Lupin's character is so fascinating and like such a well built character, that he is able to be like provide the like go between and mediate, which we find out later that he had done many times in his friendship with Sirius and others who got in arguments with Sirius.
Oh,
right?
He's the one that would kind of help smooth it over.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is in my heart of hearts, I think I am probably, if I was in this situation, I would probably agree more with Molly, because I think I am also a person who just like, if someone of authority tells me to do something, so Dumbledore was like, don't tell him anything, I would be like, well, first of all, Dumbledore told us not to, and I'm going to follow him. But also, looking back now as an adult, because I remember reading this as a kid and being so I had the reaction that Harry had of being like,
I want to know.
Yeah. But now being an adult, I have the understanding of being like, there is so limited time that you are allowed to experience like childhood and like innocence and like be okay and have adults take care of you. And what she's saying is like, I feel like what she's saying is not that Harry shouldn't know anything, but like it is our responsibility as adults to take care of Harry, so he shouldn't have to know anything, because we should be doing all this work for him. Which I think is like why, when she has the line, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, when she has the line where she was like, he's basically my own child, it's so moving, because there is probably no one in Harry's life that has ever come close to saying that. Like truly, on a real level. Even Sirius being his godfather, hey, you just met 2 years ago, which I'm not, obviously, like, you have built a relationship in that time, but like, Molly has genuinely like watched you grow up for like 5 years of your life, and like,
and she is a mother herself,
cares. Yes.
So yeah,
it's just very sweet. And I do like that Harry even has a moment to himself where he like notes that she said it, but he like is also like, but I'm also being annoyed that she's like trying to coddle me or whatever. Yeah. So I just think it's really well written. And I think the only thing that Molly gets wrong in this fight is when she's like, well, sorry you weren't around for 12 years.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. I was like, Molly,
okay, well, I'm not on your side anymore. But also, like, yeah, we just talked about this last week. It's the shit where you like get upset and you just start saying things where you like don't intend them to hurt, but like
no one's agreeing with her. So she's just like, okay, well, like she's just like, everyone, like no one is, okay, well, I see I'm going to be out. What did she say? She's like, I'm going to be overruled. That's what she said. Yeah, she was like, I'm going to be, okay, well, I see that I'll be overruled. I mean, I can see that I'm going to be overruled, but Dumbledore said we shouldn't tell him we should only tell him what he needs to know, basically, which I do feel like to an extent that is, they probably would have shared, they probably share a little bit more than Molly would have liked, but like they do still keep it. It's pretty much just like whatever, like what Lupin said. It's just like the facts
and figures
of like what,
yeah,
like what they're looking at, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. I just felt bad that Molly was like kind of like in this by herself, essentially. Like no one was like, yeah, we see, you know, why you're saying this. And
sometimes your character strengths can turn into your character flaws if you take them to the extreme. Like she's so protective that she wants to protect him to a fault, like, and lead him into a situation
and not tell him
anything.
Like keep him in the dark. Yeah.
Because in her world, she doesn't even want to believe that anything should be happening to him at all, which of course.
Right. But unfortunately, he already saw him come back and saw like a classmate die. So it'd be worse to just like not tell him anything. But I do think that the whole Harry's response is very a good 15-year-old response. Do you know, the whole like he's very touched that she said that, but then also he like wants to know, because it's like that is the age where you're like, you think in your mind, I'm old enough to know.
Harry, you don't know anything.
Things I heard when I was 15 that I wish I could go back and be like, just don't tell me until I'm 18. It's fine. Also, I wanted to mention that Sirius keeps saying Voldemort's name. And I just thought that was interesting. I wonder why specifically that was the choice that we were going to go with from like a writing standpoint.
I can tell you exactly why. So we only know 2 characters in this book series that call him by his name. And it's Harry and it's Dumbledore.
Dumbledore.
So she has a lot of work to do in this book to set up Harry and Sirius's relationship so that the end pays off. Meaning
I see.
Harry's
Okay.
devastation.
She's like aligning them.
The faster you can align him with someone we already know. So like if you like give him traits that Dumbledore has and we already have positive feelings about Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be like, oh yeah. Cuz like he's not really in the 4th book. He's like has 1 scene and I think 3 letters or whatever. And then he comes in at the end as a dog.
Yeah, he comes in as a dog. Yeah, that's true. I agree. This scene is very well written in the sense of like you empathize with both of them. You understand they're just trying to look out for Harry. But then also Molly's comment about Azkaban, I was like, oh.
Listen.
Ooh, girl.
And also think about it this way. Molly did not experience the night that Harry and Hermione experienced. And Ron. Like she was not there
with Sirius, you mean?
With Sirius and the Whomping Willow and like she didn't see Peter Pettigrew emerge out of Scabbers. Like she's heard all this information. She's been assured that this is all real. But also it's 12 years of being told that this man murdered.
Right. Yeah.
Like you're still, even at your best knowledge of being like, I know this isn't true. There's still going to be a part of your brain that is like, but also,
yeah.
Where were you? Oh, you were busy?
Yeah.
Where were you busy at? What's that place called?
It's so sad because there is a way that she could have been like, Sirius, I understand that you're his godfather, but from the moment I met Harry 5 years ago or whatever, like there is a way that she could have been like, I don't know. But that's the point, is that she's fiery in this moment. We've
never seen her fiery before. This also is a character trait that will pay off later in this book series in book 7. Her being so protective that it comes truly at a cost.
She's a mama bear for sure. The mama bear energy is present.
Sure. And it's the first time that anyone has I'm sure anyone has ever tried to criticize the way she has decided to mother one of her offspring, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And she can't really stop it.
No. Yeah, not really.
Because she's not. She knows. She knows in the end she is not his mother, and Sirius is his godfather.
Right. Yeah.
It's such. I hate to say it. It's a really good scene.
Yeah. It is. So Molly ends up trying to kick everyone out but Harry, to which Fred and George object to right away. And Arthur's like, well, they're of age, so technically we can't. And she's like, fine. Like she's really losing it. And then Ron's like, Harry will just tell me and Hermione everything. Right? You would tell us, right? Harry.
Right. Swear to me.
BFF.
Swear to me.
Harry, I need you to tell me that as soon as we get in that bedroom, you're going to tell me every little detail. Okay. Yeah, Mom, he said he would. It's just like, and I love that Harry for a moment is like, yeah, of course, bitch. Like, he was going to try it for a second. Like,
who are you? New phone, who dis?
New phone, who dis? Everyone stays except Ginny.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
I was like, oh, poor Ginny.
Also, peak peak being like 14 years old and being told you can't do something, so you stomp back up to your room and slam doors. Oh my God.
Like fling
Peak.
yourself on the bed and kind of like hope you hurt yourself a little bit just so you can be like, and now I hurt my wrist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ginny has her little tantrum as she goes up the stairs. You go, girl. And then Sirius asks Harry what he wants to know. And immediately Harry like takes in a deep, he's like, where's Voldemort and what is he doing?
I love that he thinks that they know where Voldemort is, but they're just like waiting.
We've got a tracker on him. Don't worry. We've got him surrounded. He's in the basement.
Everyone has the microchip, so we obviously know where
Everyone's
everyone
got
is.
him. Yeah, Voldemort's got the microchip too. We put it, Wormtongue put it in that little, or Wormtail. Wormtail. Sorry, that's
Wormtongue.
Lord of the Rings.
Yes, Wormtongue.
Wormtail put it in the little concoction. Sirius says that no deaths or like, you know, mysterious deaths have happened yet. Cause Harry's like, he's gotta be just murdering people left and right. Right? Harry's like, that's what he's doing. And they're like, no, actually he's not. Then he's like, well, why hasn't he just been like going around killing people? What do you mean he's not just like murdering, like on a murder spree? And Sirius explains that his Voldemort's comeback didn't go quite as planned because Harry survived, which was the whole thing, that Harry was supposed to die.
Can I ask a question? Harry's like, why didn't the comeback work? And I was like, what?
It wasn't the right set list. The outfits didn't.
Back, girl. Like, you had to know that you were supposed to die.
Harry's like, little old me?
I'm involved. I'm part of the narrative.
The boy who lived again, and he's mad? I'm sorry.
Redux?
That's my whole thing. That's my whole gig.
So stupid.
Someone tell him.
He also has to ask these questions for the audience, so I understand.
Yeah, for the reader. Yeah, that's right. True. We'll cut you some slack, Harry. So Harry wasn't supposed to survive, and Voldemort was supposed to come back only to his Death Eaters. And the most important one, Dumbledore was not supposed to find out. So Harry survived. More people than the Death Eaters know, and Dumbledore def knows. So it did not work out for him. They go into, you know, Dumbledore's the one person that he always feared once again.
I just have a question. So like let's imagine a world. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of like his history rewriting, okay? Let's imagine a world in which it's book 4 and everything happens according to Voldemort's plan.
Okay.
He's easily able to kill Harry, right? Somehow him and Cedric don't both touch it, so he shows up in the whatever. Okay, so Harry dies. Fine. That one, pretty easy to take care of. It's actually pretty shocking that Harry was able to get away. What were the other two? Dumbledore couldn't know, and what was the other one?
He only wanted his Death Eaters.
He only wanted his Death Eaters to know about it. So obviously, Harry dying there, that takes care of that equation to some extent. How would Dumbledore not figure anything out? Okay, so you have problem number 1, which is you still have Mad-Eye Moody being like what's going like
wait, that's huge.
How would that have resolved?
Would he have just killed Dumbledore? Was that the plan?
Maybe. I guess maybe it would have been that Mad-Eye was going to kill Dumbledore.
Yeah, that's my best guess.
That's our best guess. Okay. That answers my question. Thank you, Ari.
Okay.
Continue.
You're welcome. So we're just really laying it on thick that Dumbledore is the one person that he ever feared. And so the whole thing with Dumbledore, and I do want to say, I think this is my favorite thing that she layers in the next book that I enjoy so much, is that we really get to see that Dumbledore was there from the beginning with Tom, not Voldemort, with Tom, child Tom, and that he really saw him for what he was from the beginning. a psychopath, basically. Dumbledore knew from the beginning. Dumbledore's the only one that's read a book on therapy and like what are the terms? Diagnosy terms? Yeah, diagnoses.
Diagnostics.
Diagnostics. That's why I thought diagnostics too. I was like, that cannot be right. Diagnoses. The terms for the different diagnoses.
Sure.
No, we maybe get a little bit of it at the very end. Dumbledore kind of opens up a little bit more about it, but we get all of it in the next book. And it's honestly, that's my favorite part of the book, that we go down that little trip down memory lane. And so I feel like at this point, we're still doing the thing of like, oh yeah, he's just the one that Tom is, that Voldemort has feared. He's just always feared Dumbledore for some reason. And so I feel like I am kind of at the point where I'm like, okay, but like why? And maybe that's just me, that after 5 books, I'm like, okay, but that's not enough of an answer for me now. Like where did that come from? I just would need to know a little bit more of why, but I feel like because in the next book we get more of an answer, fine. It's building up that like, okay, well, what happened that made him afraid of Dumbledore specifically?
Sure.
So essentially, they explain that Voldemort has just been getting more attempting to get. He's trying to accumulate more followers. Okay, he wants to become Insta famous. He's on the TikTok.
Stupid.
He's trying to get more followers.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Don't forget to rate us and review us. Thank you so much.
He's just not posting his videos at the right time. Okay. Right time of day, right day of the
week.
What's
the SEO?
Do your research.
What's the search engine optimization? What hashtags are we using?
Come on. Look into it. Voldy.
Right. You have to do some collab
media
work.
Manager. Yeah. You should have hired Rita. Rita would have been like, I'll help you. So he's just trying to get more followers quietly under the radar. And the reason why this is working, unfortunately, is because the Ministry is a fucking joke. They're trying to discredit Dumbledore. They're also trying to discredit Harry. That's like their MO. Their MO at the moment is just like bring down Harry and Dumbledore. First off, the fact that they are doing this to a child is insane to me, Adam.
It's crazy.
Like, Dumbledore, fine. Like, fuck you anyway, because it's Dumbledore.
We know the truth. We know the truth.
Yeah, we know the truth. And they're like utilizing like ageism and saying that he's like losing it and like, you know, he's like cracked basically or whatever. And so, and now what we all know probably about the British press and like tabloids and stuff like that. I understand more why this became such a thing. But I mean, specifically like Prince Harry's book just came out for context of
to
when we're recording
us in the
this.
timeline.
Spare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Spare just came out. So just understanding like how malicious the British media and tabloids can be and having an understanding of that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see why this was like, it's kind of a no-brainer why this became a theme with this book, basically.
And that like the British government like subsidizes the press. Some of the press. It's like a very big thing. It's probably I would say it's one of the biggest differences between the United States and the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
In the way that everything happens.
So the Ministry is just, they're adding fuel to the fire basically, and it's really benefiting Voldemort and not benefiting Dumbledore and Dumbledore's army. And also Fudge is just like Voldemort. Fudge is also terrified of Dumbledore. But he thinks that Dumbledore is plotting to overthrow him in the next election. So this is a very different battle.
It's a coup. Right.
It's a coup. Yeah, it's a coup. He's just like so paranoid and he's like, he's coming for my gig. He's trying to get my gig, girl.
My literal gig. This is a gig economy and I am the prime minister.
Exactly. My literal gig. And so of course, Harry's like, but Dumbledore doesn't want that at all. We've seen this before. Like it's the whole, but Dumbledore doesn't care about that. And they're like, we all know that, audience, readers.
Right. Remember, we've talked about this in previous books.
Right. He doesn't care. He doesn't want it. Blah, 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 blah. But it's just the whole Dumbledore's very powerful. He's very influential. So he's scared. Fudge is scared that he's going to find a way to overthrow him because he knows he's more powerful than him. And even though he's trying to convince himself he's more clever than Dumbledore, in his heart of hearts, he knows that Dumbledore is he was going to him for advice.
In Fudge's defense, not that let's... Fudge sucks. But in Fudge's defense...
let's empathize.
Let's empathize with Fudge. For a man who's like, I want nothing to do with the ministry, he seems to have a lot of affiliations with the ministry. I have to say.
Dumbledore?
He sits on the Wizengamot. I didn't realize that until this chapter, and I was like, huh?
Honey, that's just because his life...
He was just a justice on the Supreme Court and was like, but I'm not interested in politics, sweetheart. It's not about that for me.
Honey, this is just, you know what? This is just like, his light is just shining and everyone's like, oh my God, yes, come sit with me.
Stop trying to dim my light.
No, yeah, stop trying to dim his light. And Fudge is just like, no one wants me to sit with him.
Right. It is very that for sure. It's definitely jealousy. For sure.
Yeah, it's definitely jealousy and like insecurity for sure. So,
and probably homophobia. Say that.
Yeah, say that. Maybe Fudge tried to make a little romance happen with Dumbledore, and Dumbledore was like,
creature canon? Absolutely.
Creature canon.
That's just
Cornelius Cannon. Cornelius Cannon. Oh my God, I'm so excited. His name started with a C. So Fudge is he is using the prophet to try and convince, as Hermione told us in the last chapter, he is utilizing the prophet and his sway with the ministry, which, okay, so they did buy out the prophet now. So they've bought out the prophet. It wasn't bought out before, essentially, because they were shit talking the ministry in the last book. So that my canon in my mind is after that started happening, he was like, we need to take more control.
I think it's less that they literally bought out the prophet and more just like
they're leaning.
It's literally the same thing with the British press, where the British press is afforded certain things because of the royals. And so as soon as you start to turn on the royals, they're like, oh, all of a sudden you don't have access to this, that, and the other. And you can't cover this, that, and the other. So
Dumbledore and the rest of the Order of the Phoenix, they have been trying to recruit people undercover. And it's, for some reason, was it weird to you that Harry was just like, but you're telling people that he's back, right? Are you guys telling people? He kept saying, you're telling everyone, right? Everyone knows, right? You guys are trying to, right? He just keeps saying, and I was like,
where do you guys print the flyers?
This is Harry's MO. He's like, but everyone needs to know. So at this point, I'm like, okay, Harry, I do think that you could take a page from Dumbledore's book in this particular situation, because you do have to be a little more stealthy.
And strategic, yeah.
Yeah, be more strategic. I understand I understand the gut reaction is just to be like, I'm sorry, you're saying I made all this, when he's with Umbridge and stuff like that, I kind of understand why it's harder for him to just sit there and be quiet. He saw it
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally get it. And just that people are essentially just saying you're a liar when you went through this very traumatic event. That's terrible. They're trying to convince people to join the Order of the Phoenix undercover, at work and stuff. But then they're explaining Arthur and Tonks would lose their jobs if they just were openly talking about how Voldemort has returned, because the ministry is very, no, he has not. Thank you very much. That's their stance. So
being insubordinate.
And Kingsley too. He's another person that works at the ministry. So Harry is essentially just okay, fine. But he's just really upset that they're not saying People aren't just shouting from the rooftops that Voldemort's back. He like can't understand. So then they're talking about more, going into detail more about how he's doing stuff. They're like, yeah, he's just trying to do stuff undercover. Voldemort is also trying to do stuff undercover. And Harry's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, he's looking for something out there. And Harry's like, what do you mean something? And he's like, well, something that you didn't have. And Harry's like a weapon? And they're like, yeah. And then Molly's like, we're going to stop right there. That's enough. It's already more than I think he should have even been told. And then at that point, they do agree with her. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's a good place to stop. You're right, Molly.
This is okay. Now I have to. Now I'm going to be asking some questions. So we're going to go over some time here.
Okay.
So they know that he wants the Elder Wand.
No, that's not what they're talking about.
Whisper it in the mic.
The orb. The prophecy orb.
Oh, the prophecy. Oh, right. What happens in this book? Yeah,
this book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Because I was like, so they know about literal death?
No, they know about death gifting these 3 things.
The items.
It is weird the way they talk about it because I wouldn't really describe this as a weapon, but that's how they're describing it at this point.
Let me read. I just want to read this passage real quick. Just
in the book, yeah.
Because now that I know, because I immediately was like, oh, it's
yeah, the Elder Wand.
The wand.
Yeah, the way they talk about it
makes
is
sense,
like
because that's a weapon. Yeah, Sirius literally just describes it as a weapon.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know if I would call this a weapon. I don't think
he's searching for information. I feel like would have been more.
So I don't know. So that was a little weird. I'm like, now knowing what it ends up being, I'm like, I don't know if I would describe it as that, but okay, whatever. So they're off to bed because Molly was like, that's it. And everyone's like, okay, fine, fair enough. And then that's like pretty much how the chapter ends. They just like go to bed.
They go to bed.
Harry's like, okay, fine.
I like Molly appearing out of the corner of the room being like, enough.
Wait.
I think it's a sleigh. So stupid. It's very.
Did it work? Did it read? Could you see me? I can't see. I'm too far away. Okay.
It's very teen movie where the kid like stays out late and comes home after a long night, and the parents like waiting in the living room and turns the light on. Where have you been?
Oh my god, I can't wait to see that in this episode because I truly could not see what it looks like on in that corner. But yeah, that's it. That's the chapter.
Well, thank you so much, Ari. That was great work. Next week, we'll be reading chapter 6 called The Noble and Most Ancient House of Black. So you can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you find your podcasts, as well as video versions on the Ampliverse YouTube channel and on Spotify. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so that we can get a perfect Newt score, 5 stars only, or else you'll be forced to sit and watch as 2 beloved adults argue about you in front of you. And for any of you with the children of divorced parents, you've already been through that trauma, so you already know what that's like. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and HP Anxious, or YouTube and TikTok at the Ampliverse. We are hosted on Anchor and recorded on Zencaster, so thank you to the both of them, and we are a proud member of the Ampliverse. Please check them out at theampliverse.com. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you, Adam.
And as always, Knox.